Did you know that there's roughly 6,500 spoken languages in the world today? If your business intelligence tool is limited to English, then you're going to be leaving some of your users out, as global organizations of course have different people speaking different languages. This problem gets magnified if you're embedding your offering with a business intelligence offering and selling it globally, because you may wish to offer support in different languages. This is where the concept of localization comes into play. And localization in the software world is basically the ability for software to appear in a user's native language, but also formatting dates and numbers, commas, decimals, etc. There's also, this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, but it's used, so I might as well mention it. If you run into the term L10N, it stands for localization. I've actually run into this on RFP response questions that I've been doing. Basically, we in the tech world like to short form things, but this is insanely confusing for everyone else. In this case, the L stands for localization, the 10 means there's 10 letters in between, and the N is the last letter. And along those same vein, you'll probably run into I18N, which stands for internationalization. Well, never mind. Let's look what can be localized in Dundas BI and how you can go about doing it. I'm Jeff, and this is Off the Charts with Jeff. So for starters, what can be localized? One thing to keep in mind is that your BI tool might have different experiences depending on the capabilities or perspectives that your type of user has. In Dundas BI, a standard user may not actually be able to go in to the Dundas BI application, but instead was only able to see embedded content. You can see this experience very well from our samples gallery. Now, try it out yourself. If you run over to dundas.com, there's a sample called CTT Wireless. And you can see in this dashboard that we really don't see any other part of the Dundas BI application other than the content it's feeding out. Now on this dashboard, it's defaulted to English, but the user is able to come in and click one of these flags to change the language and culture that they want to see. The reason that we're giving users a choice is because this is a public website, and we don't have a clue what language the user speaks or how they want to format the culture settings. And you may very well find yourself in this situation for any content that you create, so good to know about it. If you're embedding into a non-public portal, you probably have some information about your users through the login process. Information might be stored in the account itself. And if you do this, then the system can actually understand the user's preferred language and culture and apply it automatically. You can see in the user account settings that there is a culture code that can be applied to the user, and the system will automatically set the language and formatting for any content that they view, just based on that login information. This approach tends to be more common for internal deployments. Now, if you're interested in implementing this sort of localization based on content that I've described, it's best that you reach out to one of our solution architects, because there's actually multiple ways that you can go about this, and walking someone through your scenario and what exactly you need to do can probably help you find that sweet spot between effort and just meeting your requirements. So just be aware that there's multiple ways to accomplish this. So that's the viewing experience. But you can also localize the Dundas BI application itself. Some users need to interact with the application even when they're viewing content. A good example of this would be navigation from the home screen and the toolbar. The user might want to click on the export button or add an annotation, and these dialogues should appear in their native language. This has nothing to do with the previous type of localization that I was talking about. This is all about modifying the application itself so that it's in the appropriate language. The same is true for content creators. Dundas BI has the concept of a power user who spends most of their time in the dashboard designer. You might want to localize this part of the application in cases where you're allowing users to perform self-service content creation. Now at this point, it should probably be clear that languages aren't just magically available. Depending on if you're localizing the application or the content, there's one or two things you'll need. If it's the whole application you're translating, you need to provide a translation file for the portion of the application that you want to see in that language. And that's done in the form of an XML file. Here's one of these files, you can see that there's a key and the text, and you can make any modifications you need. You may even want to use this just to provide a slightly different user experience. Don't like the term note and you prefer annotation, something like that, just different wordage that you want to use within your organization. Localization can do this too. So by the way, there are online translation services, so you don't necessarily have to go and word for word do every one of these files yourself. You can certainly run it through one of these to help you get there faster. Let me show you this in action. Since Canada is a bilingual country, speaking both French and English, I've gone ahead and translated Dundas BI into Pig Latin for you to see. Every menu, every option, now perfectly ready to go. Pretty cool, huh? If you want to learn more about concepts like this, check out the video that we did called Create a Consistent Experience with White Labeling, as white labeling goes hand in hand with localization. I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for watching.